Your chat app, the one you use to ask a coworker if stand-up got moved, is sitting at 4 gigabytes of RAM right now. In 1969, the Apollo guidance computer landed 2 humans on the moon with 4 kilobytes. That's a 1 million times jump in memory to do something that is objectively less impressive than reaching another celestial body. This isn't a bug, it's the business model. We call it the Chromium tax. And in the next 10 minutes, we're going to take it apart. How a 28-byte print statement got wrapped in a 150 megabyte installer. Why your laptop fan sounds like a hairdryer the second you open Discord. And what a small group of engineers is already shipping to kill all of it. Let's take it apart. Let's start with the smallest possible program a human can write. One line. 11 characters of logic. That source file on disk is about 28 bytes. The compiled Python bytecode is a few kilobytes. Drop into C, statically compile the same idea, and you get a binary around 16 kilobytes. And that already includes the entire C runtime. Now do the same thing in JavaScript. Same logical payload, same human intent, print one string, exit. But the second a developer wraps that line in a desktop app using Electron, the framework behind Slack, Discord, VS Code, Microsoft Teams, Notion, Postman, and most of your doc, the binary footprint just explodes. Read that table again, same logical instruction, 2 different runtimes, and the difference on disk alone is roughly a paperclip versus an adult elephant. This wasn't an accident. The industry made a trade. We traded hardware efficiency for what gets politely called developer experience. High-level abstractions, hot reload, JSX, CSS in JS, NPM install, ship it tonight. The argument was engineering time costs more than RAM, so it's rational to spend the user's RAM to save the developer's hour. And for 15 years, that math mostly held. But here's the paradox nobody on the engineering side wants to say out loud. The hardware on your desk in 2026 has more raw compute than a Cray supercomputer, the fastest machine on the planet in 1995. Your phone has more transistors than the entire data center that ran the first Google search, and yet that hardware can barely keep a chat client responsive while you type. Something is mathematically off. What's off is that we wrapped every desktop app in a browser. Here's the part most users never see and most developers are actively avoiding. When you double-click the Slack icon, you're not launching a chat app. You're launching a complete, fully featured, headless instance of the Chromium browser engine, the same engine that powers Google Chrome, with a single tab open. And that tab happens to render the Slack UI. Same for Discord, same for VS Code, Teams, Notion, most of the apps you trust to be cheap. Every single one of those apps ships its own private copy of Chromium. Every one loads the entire V8 JavaScript engine into memory at startup. And on top of that, each app spins up the Blink rendering pipeline, the Skia graphics library, the V8 garbage collector, the IPC message bus, and the multi-process security sandbox, just to draw a text input box and a list of conversations. That's not a typo. That's one app. 6 processes running in parallel just to deliver something that is, at the end, rendering a text field and pushing strings over a WebSocket. The GPU process exists because Chromium architected hardware-accelerated compositing as a separate, sandboxed process for security. That's defensible engineering inside a browser where you're loading untrusted web pages from the open internet. It's absurd architecture inside a chat client where the only website being rendered is one you control yourself. You're paying for a sandbox you don't need. The audio service is its own process. The network service is its own process. The renderer is its own process. The crashpad handler is its own process. And each one carries a baseline memory footprint that has to exist before your application has rendered a single pixel of its own UI. You can see this yourself, right now, on your machine. Run that after you open Slack. You won't see one Slack process. You'll see 5, or 7, or if you've got multiple workspaces, 15. Each one is a fragment of a browser pretending to be a productivity app. The architecture isn't malicious, it's just inappropriate. We took a tool designed to safely render a billion untrusted documents from the open web, and we used it as the substrate for a button that says Send. Now imagine you have 5 of those buttons open at once. Now we get to the part that explains the slow death. Chromium runs JavaScript inside V8, and V8 manages memory with a generational garbage collector. The model is elegant on paper. New objects get allocated in a small, young generation heap. Most of them die fast. Request objects, render fragments, temporary strings, and get cleaned up in quick, minor GC cycles. The few that survive get promoted to the old generation heap, where they get collected less often in larger, more expensive major GC cycles. The problem isn't that V8 garbage collects badly. V8 is genuinely one of the best engineered JavaScript runtimes ever written. The problem is downstream of V8. Even after a major collection successfully frees memory inside the heap, that memory is rarely returned to the operating system. V8 holds onto it. It's betting the application will need it again soon. That bet is correct for browser tabs. It's catastrophic for long-running desktop apps you leave open for 14 hours a day. So your Electron chat client wakes up at 9 in the morning idling at 300 megabytes. You join a busy channel, you scroll through 1,000 messages, you paste an image, you open and close a few threads. By 2 in the afternoon, that same idle process is sitting at 1.8 gigabytes. You haven't done anything dramatic. The heap just grew, and the runtime decided not to give it back. Now multiply that by every Electron app on your machine. Slack, Discord, VS Code, Notion, Postman, Linear, GitHub Desktop, your password manager. Each one is a fully isolated, unshared, redundant copy of the same runtime. There's no shared Chromium, no shared V8, no shared GPU process. The OS can't deduplicate them because the binaries are pinned to specific Chromium versions and patched in incompatible ways. This is the Chromium Multiplier. 5 Electron apps means 5 complete, non-shared copies of a browser engine sitting in your memory at the same time. And nobody in the industry wants to say this out loud, but it's true, and it's the whole game. By 2026, large parts of the desktop software industry have this priced in. They assume the user has 32 gigabytes of RAM. They assume an M-series chip or a recent Ryzen. They assume a fast SSD that swaps gracefully. So they ship inefficient code, knowingly, because the cost of profiling it is higher than the cost of making your laptop heavier. Memory leaks have stopped being a bug class. They've become, quietly, a tolerated property of the system, a feature in the negative sense. You're subsidizing their engineering team with your hardware. That's the tax. The industry had reasons, 3 of them, and they all rhyme with money. First, talent supply. There are roughly 25 million JavaScript developers on this planet right now. Maybe 2 million can ship production Rust. Maybe 500,000 can ship production C++ for desktop UI. If you're a Series B startup and your VP of engineering has to staff a desktop app team in 6 weeks, the math writes itself. You hire React developers, you ship Electron, you move on. Second, styling and iteration speed. Watch this. No native UI toolkit, not Windows WinUI, not macOS Swift UI, not GTK does that at that speed for a product team. That 2-second loop is why every growth stage startup defaults to React, defaults to Electron, and ships tomorrow. Third, cross-platform reach. With Electron, one codebase ships to Windows, macOS, and Linux on day 1. With native, you're writing at minimum 3 separate UI layers, often with 3 separate teams. For a product whose core logic is render a list of messages, that overhead is impossible to justify economically. So the industry made the trade, rationally, at the per-product level. And then, unintentionally, at the system level, we deleted an entire engineering discipline. Specialized low-level systems programming for end-user commercial software has, in 2026, mostly stopped being a career path outside of game studios, embedded firmware, and a small ring of performance-obsessed open-source projects. We forgot how to write desktop apps that respect the machine. The Chromium tax is what that forgetting costs. They've been building something different, quietly, in production. Let's meet them. Let's start with the one with the most momentum, Tauri. Version 2.x is in production at 1Password, at CrabNebula's tooling, in early kit experiments, and a couple of dozen places that don't talk about their stack. The pitch is simple. Brutal, even. Keep the web front-end developers love, throw out the bundled Chromium, use the operating system's native WebView instead, WB2 on Windows, WK WebView on macOS, WebKit GTK on Linux. The backend is Rust. The result is not subtle. 600 kilobytes versus 150 megabytes, 30 megabytes of RAM at idle versus 150 to 2.5 seconds. These aren't marginal improvements. This is different physics. To make the comparison real, here's an Electron main entry point, the boilerplate every Electron app starts with. 4 lines, and behind those 4 lines, you're shipping the entire Chromium browser engine in your installer. Here's the equivalent in Tauri. Same shape, same intent, but the runtime underneath is the OS native WebView the user already paid for, plus a small Rust binary on top. No bundled browser, no private V8 heap, no 5-process tax. Beyond Tauri, there's a second movement, smaller but louder among performance engineers. Pure Rust UI frameworks like egui, immediate mode brutally fast, and iced retained mode and elegant. They're already replacing Electron for internal tools, dev tools, and any product where the team has a performance-religious lead engineer with veto power. There's already a category forming, native-first SaaS, where the marketing copy is "We don't eat your RAM." That category gets bigger every year. Are they going to replace Electron for a Slack-class product tomorrow? No, but they don't need to. They just need to show that it's possible. There's one more cost we haven't named, and it's the largest: hardware obsolescence. The reason your 3-year-old laptop feels slow isn't because the silicon got worse. The silicon is fine. The silicon could run circles around the Apollo missions and the entire 1995 internet at the same time. Your laptop feels slow because the software running on it got 2 orders of magnitude more wasteful, while the hardware only got 1 order of magnitude faster. The Chromium tax is one of the quieter reasons 3-year-old laptops feel slower than they should, and slow laptops are the most common reason people replace them. Bloated software is an environmental story we haven't learned to tell properly yet. The roadmap to take your machine back isn't radical. As a user, prefer native apps where they exist. Prefer Tauri-based or WebView-based wrappers when you've got the choice. Close the Electron apps you're not actively using. Put a memory monitor in your menu bar so you stop normalizing what you can't see. As a developer, when you start a new desktop project, stop reaching for Electron by default. Spend the 4 hours it takes to evaluate Tauri. Spend the weekend it takes to prototype something in Iced. The argument that the user has the RAM isn't a free move anymore. The user is starting to notice. The reason this matters isn't the megabytes, it's what the megabytes reveal. We built an industry that confuses convenience with engineering. We picked a tool designed for one job, safely rendering untrusted web pages, and we made it the substrate for everything else. And then we stopped questioning the choice, because everyone else had stopped too. If excessive abstraction is killing performance in your RAM, the same disease lives in your backend architecture. The same instinct, wrap everything in another layer because the layer is convenient, is, right now, being undone by a generation of senior engineers who have started deleting their microservices and going back to monoliths. If you want to see that same instinct, wrap it in another layer, ship it tomorrow, being dismantled at the back-end level, the next video is the one. Senior engineers are quietly deleting their microservices in 2026. Watch it next. Subscribe to MacroLens for the next breakdown. Stay sharp.